You know what's the most frustrating part about doing all of this? Is that it is so much work. And I know it's only gonna be like the first 10 minutes of the video. Hey garden friends! Okay, so today I'm going to be establishing a new garden bed, and I just wanted to talk to you guys a little bit about establishing a garden bed, and I thought I'd take you guys along for the ride. Okay, so here's the couple of things that I have laid out for you guys of what would be super helpful in establishing a garden bed when you're first starting out. So the first one is a hoe. This one does have a little attachment at the end. Oops, sorry, where it has a little two prong, if you can see that. Here, let me come around. So if you guys can see kind of how this is designed, it has a little two prong on one side and then a hoe on the other. And I really like this for breaking up big chunks of clay. I won't say it's super easy. It's still manual labor, right? But it is a lot easier, especially if you have a really dense portion that you would like to kind of break up. The second thing is actually a new discovery of mine. This one I discovered, if you guys remember, in my video when I was helping my friend out with her garden bed, and she had bought one of these. She said her dad used to use it, and she was like, I know this was super helpful. And she bought it, and I asked if I could borrow it because it was super, super helpful. I'm actually not even sure what it's called, but I know that the brand is Corona, and I will definitely put a link to this below if I can find it, or at least something comparable. But this is perfect for breaking up clay, and it made everything so much better and so much easier, so highly recommend that. So the next one is just a simple shovel, whatever works for you, of what you're like comfortable with or something you have on hand, but I definitely recommend it to be fairly sharp. So if you have a really dull one, then that's definitely not going to work. And I like the pointed ones. I know some people like the straight ones, and maybe if I had a sharper straight one, I would like that too. But this one I recently purchased last year, so it's still really sharp, and it works super well for me for breaking up the turf and just getting into the turf to start off with. And the last thing that I suggest is getting yourself a garden cart if you can help it. Now, if you don't have the budget to do that, I totally get you. I am like the exact same way. I'm super, super broke. So, you know, if you have to, you can definitely make do with a couple of buckets and then transport that way with just, you know, some buckets or something. But I recently was able to get one of these. I saved up for a little bit, and they're not crazy expensive. I'm making it sound like they are, but this was, I believe, 100. I'm not completely sure, but I'm pretty sure this was 100 by Gorilla Carts, and this is one of the smaller ones, which is perfect for my style of garden where I'm just doing a house garden. So yeah, highly recommend this because it's just going to be a lot easier to transport the debris. So especially like the turf and stuff, it's going to be a lot easier to pull it rather than lug it in those. I lugged it in those for the first 8 months that I had this garden, and my arms are really strong, but I definitely prefer this for sure. Okay, now that we've kind of talked about what you need, I'm going to go ahead and take you along, and we're going to get started actually digging up this side, and I'm going to go ahead and show you what it looks like right now so you guys can kind of see that. Okay, so this is what this area looks like right now. So as you can see, it has all these landscaping rocks here to the side, and then the rest is turf. So my idea is to start where the patio ends and bring it down all the way and then connect it with this bottom bed that I have right here. And I am just going to leave these landscaping rocks exactly where they are, mainly because I do think that it's probably going to help with drainage. We do have a basement in this house that does flood easily, so I'm sure that that must have been what the owners were thinking, you know, putting down some of these landscaping rocks. But I also am going to try to establish some shrubs, and eventually, and as you can see, it's probably like 18 inches. So if I establish a shrub like right there, it's going to eventually fluff out and take up that space anyway, so I'm not too concerned about it. But yeah, let's go ahead and let's get started. Hey guys, I just figured I would jump in with a voiceover to kind of explain my thought process with each step that I'm doing on how kind of I go about establishing my garden beds, so that you guys can kind of make sense of where my mind is. So the first thing that I always do when I establish a garden bed is to whip out a can of spray paint and to kind of outline where I want the bed to be. This just enables me to be able to visualize where I want things to go, and then also make sure that I stay straight when I actually start cutting. Okay, and as you can see, the next thing that I'm going to do is just follow that line that I just recently sprayed and take it all the way down to the bottom. And then here in just a second, you're going to see that I'm actually going to go back and then about maybe 18 inches, 12 inches behind that first initial line, I'm going to cut an additional line. And what that's going to do is that's just going to enable me to cut into those two lines. And it's going to make it so that I can have a lot smaller pieces to manage with the turf. So as you can kind of see in this video, I've already cut those two lines on each side, and then I'm cutting everything into like quarters or however many pieces that you need for however long the bed is. And then I just pull up each piece individually. I normally try to make them fairly small because it's just a lot easier to handle. So yeah, tip, make them as small as reasonably possible, because it will be a lot easier for you to handle.
One eternity later.
Okay, at this point I realized that the landscaping rocks went out a lot further than I originally thought, and so when you have landscaping rocks, you can't actually really get your shovel to go straight into the ground because of the rocks. So I took a little bit of a different technique and started kind of like trying to shave the turf off, which is super, super tough. So I'm sure you guys won't have to do this unless you are a poor soul that is having to deal with landscaping rocks like I do, but essentially that's just what I'm doing in this clip, so in case you were wondering. You know what's the most frustrating part about doing all of this? Is that it is so much work. And I know it's only going to be like the first 10 minutes of the video. Or 5 minutes or whatever. And yet it's literally taking me like 2.5 hours. Man, to all you gardeners out there who are 60 and over, oh my gosh, you have my respect. Because I'm dying. Like literally my shirt is soaking wet. Okay guys, so the last thing that we have to do is just add some soil amendments to my soil. I always do this because I have really dense clay soil. If you have better soil, all you might need to do is just add a little bit of compost just to kind of reinvigorate the soil. But for me, I also added in another bag of something called Claybreaker, which is a really good option for me here because it's a mix of gypsum, mulch, and compost. So it just kind of helps to get in there and break up some of that clay soil. So I'm just going to go ahead and rake that out just to evenly spread it. And then I did end up using the soil ripper. I found out what it was, the soil ripper from Corona, to actually mix everything together. But you can also just use the hoe. So if all you have is a hoe or a shovel, you can definitely use that. And I use that for the past 2 years. I just so happened to have this on hand, so that's what I used to mix everything in. So that's the last thing that I do in this video is just mix everything in. But in my next one, I will be planting up this garden bed with some clearance plants that I got in my latest haul, which also is coming to you guys soon. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you're excited about the new videos that I'm sending out, please like and subscribe and hit that notification bell so that you can stay on the up and up with the next video that I'm going to post. But I hope you guys have a great day. Thanks for watching.